Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon FireRed. Today, I guess we're gonna go into Viridian City because, well, I mean, it's not like we can go south of town. It's just a whole big body of water. Doesn't seem like we can do much with that. We're gonna go up through Route 1 again because, well, there's not really much in the way of getting around as of yet. Let's try our new move, Ember. Doing quite a bit more damage than Scratch. I would show what Scratch does, but it's probably going to kill anyway. Or knock out. You know, we're just making Pokemon faint. We're not killing them, guys. That would be really, really morbid. Yeah, but maybe if I see another level 3 Rattata, I'll show off sort of what... Oh, well, speak of the devil. Sort of what I'm trying to get across here. Scratch didn't nearly do as much damage. Well, this is probably due to a couple of things. For one, our special attack is slightly higher than our attack, so, well, and Ember is a special move, whereas Scratch is a physical move. So our special attack is, you know, being higher is going to mean that our special moves are going to do more damage. But also, because Ember is a fire type move and we are a fire type Pokemon, we're going to get something called same type attack bonus, or stab for short. Stab boosts the power of your moves by 1.5 times their normal power. So that's going to really ruffle stomp some of these earlier Pokemon. And in fact, it's going to be very useful for the rest of the game. I swear there are Pidgey in this route. A critical hit, wow. Okay, so I kind of glossed over it because it happened twice last episode, but a critical hit in this game does double the damage that it would normally do. Now, in modern Pokemon games, it's 1.5 times the damage, which I'm very thankful for. As somebody who plays competitive sometimes, I can't tell you how grateful I am that we're not... I don't get hit for twice the damage instead of, you know, just 1.5 times the damage. A critical hit in this game... I believe it's from Generation 2 onwards. It might be Generation 3 onwards, but it is a blanket 6.25% chance to crit for every Pokemon, regardless of their speed. Now, in Generation 1 for sure, possibly Generation 2, it was dependent on your speed stat. So a Pokemon with very high speed, such as, I'm going to throw a Pokemon name out here if you don't know it. It's not a big deal. Jolteon is pretty fast. It had about a 1 in 4 chance of critting any move that it had. Which is quite a lot, to say the least. And I am very glad that the crit chances also went down to this blanket 6.2. Oh, up there I got a potion. You know, more healing items is always good. In here we have some new Pokemon. Mankey. This Pokemon is like, I don't know, a furry monkey with a pig nose. It's kind of interesting looking. I don't really know what to call it. It's got like webbed feet and like round hands and a tail and some very sharp eyebrows. Red eyes, you know, all these things. We're gonna look at our items here. We can't use the town map in battle. We've already used a potion. Let's try a Pokeball. So this is my sly way of basically telling you guys what the second member of our team would be if I could catch it. Yeah, Mankey. Mankey, well, we'll see what this Mankey's all about when we get him. Him, yes. It has a male little symbol next to it, if you can kind of make that out, with its 2004 pixels. Light and agile on its feet, and ferocious in temperament. When angered, it flies into an uncontrollable frenzy. The pig Pokemon? Okay, whatever you say. Wait, 61 pounds? Good God! Are we giving Mankey a nickname? I'll think of a nickname real quick. Alright, a pretty simple name. We're gonna go with Mac, after everybody's favorite boxer, Little Mac, from, you know, Punch-Out and Smash Bros. You know, I know he's low tier, but hopefully our Mankey won't be. I keep telling myself that. Oh, fuck. I always mess up inputs on the D-pad. Not used to this sort of gaming, you know, it's so archaic. Using a D-pad to move? Gosh. When's the last time you ever played a game that had to do that? Alright, well, let's take a look at Mankey, or I guess Mac. Bold nature. Okay, so lonely nature, I believe that's plus defense minus speed? No, wait, that's bold nature. So, plus defense minus speed, or is it plus attack minus defense? You know, there's some that I know off the top of my head, like Jolly, Timid, Adamant, because they're very useful for competitive. Bold and Lonely. Well, Bold is niche. Lonely, people don't use it. We've got Scratch and Leer. Leer is essentially Tail Whip. These stats are kind of but I mean, we're level 3, so what do I expect? Fighting type? Fight type? It's fighting type, but I guess they abbreviated it fight. Means that we're gonna hit normal types super effective. So Pokemon like Rattata, we might be able to deal with if we can get a fighting type move. Pokemon not like Rattata, as like Pidgey, or well, there's another Pokemon over here that shares this exact same typing as Pidgey. Hopefully we'll see that Pokemon soon. You know, can't give away all our secrets, right? We'll take normal damage because they're part flying type, and flying is super effective on fighting. It also resists fighting type moves. So when you have a type pair like normal and flying, where one resists the move and one is weak to it. So for example, fighting type on a normal flying, the normal is weak, the flying is strong. It balances out to be regularly effective. So like for example, a normal type Scratch on a normal type Rattata does regular damage. Mac is very weak right now, so what we're gonna do is run around this grass a little bit, do a little bit of training. It would probably be better to train in Route 1 instead of, well, Route 22, because dealing with Rattata and Pidgey is a lot easier than dealing with Mankey and potential other Pokemon. Or I guess it's not really that much easier, but... Okay, so double damage double damage did 5. I'm -1, which is 1 times 1.67 my... Or, no, 0.75 times my defense, I think. All these numbers, man. 1 HP. I knew I would live. It might have been a roll, who knows. You can never tell with these low-level Pokemon. Mankey, level 4. First of many, my friend. Hopefully. So there are a bunch of different animations for like going into these battles. I don't know if they really mean anything. Like that whiteout versus like the blackout versus like all the other idiosyncrasies between the fade-ins to battle. Let's not worry about them because, again, I don't know exactly what they all mean. They might mean something, or they might just be random, who knows. So, because Mac was out for that fight, even though he did not finish off the Rattata, he still gets some of the credit. He's going to split the experience in half, pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty nice. I think, because Mac is weak right now, doesn't have a lot of health left, we're just going to switch into Dante. And, well, profit a little bit. No sense in going back to the Pokemon Center when we've got a perfectly healthy Pokemon right here. So this is basically what training is like in the early game. You're not getting a ton of experience. You've got to grind on some really low level Pokemon. Now, I suppose you don't have to grind, but for a battle that I am about to do, I'm pretty low leveled for it, so I definitely want to try it. So we're one-shotting Mankeys, or I mean some Mankeys maybe. I don't know. There's tons of variation between Pokemon, so you can never say for sure what you can and can't one-shot. There are little variances in stats. There are some hidden values for your Pokemons. In this generation, they're called EVs and IVs. I'm not gonna give you a full in-depth explanation of them at this very moment. Just know that IVs are inherited values that your Pokemon is just born with better stats in certain areas, and maybe not as good stats in other areas. It kind of just depends on your luck. Where EVs are effort values, you train for them, so when you beat up Pokemon, you get extra little bonuses to your stats that you don't see. And that's the very bare bones version of that. There are also natures. I already noted that Mankey has a bold nature, that Mac has a bold nature, Dante has a lonely nature. Those also affect the stats. I was saying plus a certain stat minus a certain stat. That's usually what natures do. They give you a 10% boost in one stat and a 10% reduction in another stat. Some natures, like Sirius, don't give you any sort of boosts or decay. So they're kind of nice for a normal playthrough because you have a little bit of consistency in all the stats, but generally there are some stats that are important and some that are not for certain Pokemon. This is a Pokemon that I was actually talking about earlier, Spearow. He's not Pidgey, basically. He's kind of cool to see because I know a lot of people like using this Pokemon on their team. Me personally, I'm not going to go for it, but you could do a lot worse. I mean, you could pick Pidgey. I don't think Pidgey's an awful pick, but it's probably not as good as Spearow, to be honest. Spearow levels up. Spearow becomes, let's just say it becomes stronger, faster, and its stats are comparable to Pidgey's sort of final form. Or the best version of Pidgey. You know, you're always striving to do your best in Pokemon. Instilling amazing values in your children, of course. You gotta love the 8-bit music. I don't know if Pidgey can appear in this particular route. I'm surprised we haven't seen it because it's a 50-50 in Route 1, supposedly. I always generally see Rattata, even though I'm pretty sure, based on the code, it is a 50-50. Alright, so Dante being at 7 HP right now is a little, I would say it's concerning, but he will probably one-shot most of these Pokemon with Ember, because of, well, Blaze, the ability, helping us out. I didn't really read Mankey's ability, but if I'm not mistaken, it's Vital Spirit, and that means that Mankey will not go to sleep. Sleep is a status. When we see it, we'll talk about it. I don't see a sense in, you know, explaining something that we don't see. I like to show and then tell, rather than, well, the opposite. Alright. I promise that I'm not going to show too much grinding throughout the series, but this is the beginning of the game. I want people to know, like, the sort of experience that you're going to be getting into with a Pokemon game. You don't have to play particularly the way that I'm playing. You don't have to choose the Pokemon that I'm choosing. But basically, I'm showing you the way that I would play Pokemon. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. You might have heard me in my last episode talk about some grievances I had with picking Charmander. Charmander is probably my least picked of the starters in this game, because, well, personally, I don't particularly like Charmander. I also think that it is quite difficult to use in this game. You know, I don't think Professor Oak was giving us just dressing text when he said it's a patience to raise this Pokemon. I much prefer, you know, the other two starters because, well, you know, for a lot of reasons. Squirtle's, the best version of Squirtle is one of my favorite Pokemon. The best version of Bulbasaur is, in my opinion, a very strong Pokemon. So, the best version of Charmander does not really share those traits in my eyes. Albeit, Charmander is a pretty strong Pokemon, but, you know, I'll definitely get into it a little more. So why did I pick Charmander as my starter? Was it because I wanted a fresh take on the game? You know, using Pokemon that I'm not that familiar with? Well, actually, yes, but more particularly, before this playthrough, I had a couple of my friends who know Pokemon pick what Pokemon that I'm going to be using on this playthrough. So, thank you, Xavier, for picking Charmander, my least favorite starter. No, but seriously, thank you, because I want the opportunity to change my mind on some Pokemon. You know, some Pokemon that I'm gonna pick up are definitely not Pokemon that I would consider using in a normal playthrough, but hopefully using different Pokemon, Pokemon that I'm not as familiar with, will help me learn a little bit about the game, learn a little bit about new Pokemon, and hopefully help me grow as a player. I would suggest that, like, there are lots of things that people do to spice up their Pokemon gameplay to make it a little more difficult, especially, because Pokemon is a series known for being pretty easy, pretty accessible. And I could have done a challenge like that as a playthrough for this channel, but I kind of wanted to play through it semi-normally, because that's just kind of, you know, I think a Let's Play is a great opportunity to show other people how you experience the game, show other people how you would like to play the game. And while this is not exactly how I'd like to play the game, how I would normally play the game, this is something that I think is interesting, and I still can bring my own experience to. Plus, maybe it'll get my friends to watch my content for once, to see how the Pokemon that they chose do. I don't know. Ooh, level 5 Spearow, that's pretty dangerous for Mac here. I don't know if Spearow gets any flying type moves at level 5, but flying type moves are super effective on fighting. I think I mentioned that before, and I definitely don't want to be messing around with that. Critical hits for days, man. Another thing about critical hits, I guess, because I'm running out of things to talk about, they ignore they ignore any stats that would negatively affect the damage roll. So, if, per se, somebody lowered the attack stat of Mac with, say, like, Growl, and I got a critical hit, it would, totally negate, my minus attack and double the damage. Ironic that I die talking about, die to a crit while talking about crits. If an opponent boosted their defense and I critical hitted them, it would also negate that and then double the damage. So critical hits can be really, really ridiculous. Let me just say that. So I guess I can talk maybe a little bit about the fainted status, since this is our first Pokemon to faint. If all of our Pokemon faint, we're gonna black out and lose money, as a penalty for, you know, game overing. It's not a big deal, but it sucks, and we don't want to game over. When your Pokemon hits 0 HP, it faints, and you cannot use an item on it. So if I go in my bag and use a potion, it won't have any effect. So even though a potion does heal 20 health, I can't heal a Pokemon that is fainted. So definitely, if you don't want your Pokemon to faint, go ahead and use that healing item. I think what I'll do is probably get one more level on Mac, heal him up, and we'll go ahead and do the final challenge for this episode. Well, hopefully you guys will appreciate this grinding while, you know, while, I don't know, I explain some things, and when you see the challenge that's ahead, because if you don't know, you might be like, oh, this is so boring, why are you grinding, why can't you just play the game? Well, this fight is one of the harder fights, especially if you don't grind for it. So, yeah, I don't want to lose. What you saw, what I did there was I switched around moves so that while I was battling to different spots, so that I don't have to keep pressing down to get to a move like low kick. This is a feature that is I think it's exclusive to Gen 3 games. So Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, FireRed, Leaf Green. If you press select on a move while you're in a battle, you can switch its position around. I don't know why they got rid of that feature, because it is really, really helpful. You don't have to go into the screen like I did with Dante and change around the move order in that way. That is something you can do in every game, but This, for some reason, they got rid of it. You might be able to do it in Gen 2 and Gen 1 games. I'm not too familiar with them because, well, obviously I'm playing FireRed, and I said that this is the first game I played, or could remember playing in the first episode, so hopefully you're able to infer from that I haven't really played the original Generation 1 versions of these games. Well, okay, I played a little bit of them, but this is, in my eyes, a superior version of that. Yeah, there's charm to Gen 1, for sure, and there is merit in playing it, but I think when you have access to this, it makes it hard to justify that, so you can go ahead and use an item on Mac here, restore them. I'm going to save everybody, me walking back to this Pokemon Center, and let's go down this road. Hey, Lucky, you're off to the Pokemon League? Forget about it. You probably don't have any badges, do you? The guard won't let you through without them. By the way, do your Pokemon get any stronger? And he's just gonna fight us. And he's got his pose, his signature pose. So, immediately he's gonna start with Pidgey here, and, I goofed a little bit. Pidgey... Mac is not going to fare that well against Pidgey, so I guess we're just going to switch into Dante here. Pidgey using Sand Attack there, lowering my accuracy, means that my moves are going to be, well, less accurate. I have a chance to miss now, and this is probably going to be, well, the typical Pokemon experience. Oh my god. Okay, not the typical Pokemon experience because I'm getting critical hits, but... yeah, when your accuracy falls, you miss your attacks, it gets really annoying. Most of the attacks, especially that we're going to see now, like Ember and Scratch, have 100 accuracy, meaning that they're going to hit all the time. Unless somebody increases their evasion or decreases your accuracy, then... it's going to drop to a percentage of, well, 100 in this case. Otherwise, it'd be a percentage of, well, your attack's accuracy. So I missed that attack there. Squirtle is going to tackle. Squirtle at level 9 gets a water-type move called Water Gun. So he will actually hit me for super effective damage if he goes for it, and definitely will knock my Dante out. So, here's to him not doing it. Okay. Didn't do it, so thankfully we've got Mac to help us out with this battle. I've done this battle plenty of times with just my starter, and it is hell. Low kick, that does not do, like, any damage. Good god. Okay, that does a little bit more damage. Squirtle missed tackle. Oh, okay. Tackle has 95 accuracy. So, I guess it was good for me for that to happen and me to mention that because I forgot that little quirk. And, of course, in my fashion, we're going to end it off with a crit. And get a ton of experience. Not quite a level up, but we beat Xavier, and that's the important thing. Oh, you just lucked out. Well, I mean, it's kind of in the name. Sorry to break it to you, pal. I heard the Pokemon League is crawling with tough trainers. I have to figure out how to get past them. You should quit dawdling and get a move on. And he's gonna get his move on, I guess. Well, with that, I think we've accomplished quite a lot for this episode. So I'm going to end it off here. Thank you guys for watching.